Hello, and we are live. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
We have a special guest, and we'll just wait a few minutes while everyone pulls in. Let us know if you can hear us well. I hope your days are all going great. Okay, we see thumbs up, so I guess that's all good from everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good sign.
yeah, indeed, no one's complaining yet. You don't have to complain to drop a message in the chat. You can say hi, tell us where you're from, tell us how your day is going. Tell us what you're excited to hear today. Um, how's your day going, Caspar? Is it Caspar?
Yeah, it's Casper.
Okay.
It's great, actually. We had today a pretty good weather in Warsaw.
Okay.
Actually, it was pretty cold, about 2 degrees Celsius, but it was a sunny day. So always nice to see sun at winter.
Nice. It's pretty much the same thing in Paris here. It's very
Ah, so
sunny.
you're in Paris now.
Yeah, I'm in Paris now. It's sunny but cold. I took like a walk during my lunch break and I forgot my gloves and I was like, it's always so deceiving because the sun's out, you assume it's warm. But yeah, it's a good day. And speaking of Warsaw, it's really funny that you mentioned Warsaw because um, this is very unrelated to everything that we'll be speaking about today. But um, I don't know if you listen to Beyonce, and so I was
Not really, but I know she would have a concert in Warsaw.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's selling out pretty much everywhere, and the Warsaw tickets aren't as fast as everywhere, and so everyone's thinking, "Hey, maybe I'll just go to Warsaw and like watch Beyonce." So that's something that I was talking about with someone today earlier. But yeah, okay, we have more people connected actually. Welcome. I see some people from CK Source. Your colleagues, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Nice.
1, 2, 3 people from CK Source.
Yeah, that's a good number.
Yeah,
Welcome.
and I can see people still joining.
Yeah, same. I really like I'm excited to start, but I also don't want anyone to miss it. And so I'll just like wait a few more minutes, literally 2 more minutes before we kick things off. But
Sure.
if anyone is we have our first message in the chat. Thank you. Who is that? Frank. Hello Frank from Ghana. Um Frank has kicked things off, so we have a couple more people. We have Pavel from Vilnius. I hope I said that right. I do know where that is. It should be in Lithuania.
Yep, exactly.
Nice. Okay. Perfect. Great. Okay. I think we can get started. Just I'll give you like a quick tour, and then we'll start with the proceedings for today. If you are not familiar with this application, it's Livestorm. You registered, and now you're watching us through it. At the bottom, you have a chat where there's some activity. And right next to the chat icon, we have questions. So in case you have any questions as Caspar is doing his presentation and telling you about CKEditor and Strapi, you can ask questions below. I'll also drop a couple of polls just to get your opinions on a couple of things and see how you're feeling about them. And then you can also do like emoji reactions. And just to answer your question really quick, Mikkel, yes, we will post this on YouTube. It'll first be available on Livestorm through on demand, and after a couple of weeks, we'll put it on YouTube. So you can definitely catch the recording. But you definitely want to watch it live also. You're here, so welcome. And I think I've delayed this as long as I possibly can. So let's get started, Caspar. Before you, I guess, do you want to give us an introduction of yourself before you start?
Actually, I have a slide where I will talk about it. So let me share the screen and
Perfect.
we can start. Yep, I hope you can see it. So hello, everyone. Once again, it's great to be here. Today, I'm going to talk about CKEditor and the custom field we developed for Strapi. I hope you will learn more about our editor and how you can use it to improve your content creation process. And however, before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Kasper Tomporowski, and I work at CK Source as QA team leader. I also often act as a product owner in some of our integration projects, like Drupal integration or Strapi integration. And you can find me on LinkedIn or GitHub, so feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. So I would like to start from the most fundamental topic, which is what is CK Editor? Some of you might know CK Editor from previous projects or use it in the current one, but there might be people who don't know the editor at all. Anyway, I will be talking about various stuff, so I hope all of you will find the presentation interesting. Um, Basically, in the most simple words, CKEditor is a rich text editor that allows you to create content in a visual way. You don't have to know HTML, Markdown, or any markup language, as all your changes in the editable are immediately visible. So when you finish editing, the editor simply converts your content in desired format, which usually is HTML. CKEditor is built in vanilla JavaScript without using any framework and very small amount of external libraries. We all know that JavaScript ecosystem evolves very quickly, so using vanilla JavaScript was a safe choice in terms of maintenance. And of course, CKEditor can be implemented in any application that supports HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yeah, and I'd like to mention that CKEditor is highly extensible, so you can easily write a plugin or change the existing behavior if needed. And the code is publicly available on GitHub, so feel free to explore CKEditor 4 and CKEditor 5 repositories. And by the way, CKEditor 5 is the most recent version of CKEditor, so today I will focus on it. Now a few words about the history of CKEditor. So the editor was created by Federico Caldeira Knaben in 2003, and it used to be called FCKEditor. It started as a single person project that simply fulfilled Federico's needs, as formerly there were not many web text editors. And it gained popularity very quickly. And after reaching about 3 million downloads, the project was reviewed, rewritten, and released. The name was changed to CKEditor, and I think you can guess why. In 2006, Federico established a company named CK Source with headquarters in Warsaw, Poland. In 2012, CKEditor 4 was released, and it became one of the most popular rich text editors in the world. It introduced a new approach and text editing solutions, and is still used by people around the world. And now we are heading to the present times. In 2018, we released CKEditor 5, which has been created from scratch with a new architecture that allowed us to introduce many cool solutions like real-time collaboration. And important note, CKEditor 4 and CKEditor 5 are totally different products. The first impression might be these look similar, but you should treat V4 and V5 individually. For example, CKEditor 4 generates a different markup than CKEditor 5. You can't install the plugin created for CKEditor 4 and CKEditor 5. Although some of plugins available in CKEditor 4 are not available in CKEditor 5, and vice versa. So CKEditor 5 is more restrictive when it comes to HTML loaded to the editor, but I will talk about it in the next slides. All right, so what's new in CKEditor 5? We focused on improving user interface and user experience, as we understand how important it is to use a tool that is intuitive, accessible, and well-designed. There are multiple features that helps the content creators in writing and managing the content. And CKEditor 5 produces semantic HTML, which is compliant with the specification. It has a custom data model, which enables new possibilities for developers, and it is highly customizable. So as a developer, you can have a control over multiple editor components and behaviors. And finally, we have a set of premium features, which I will briefly describe later. Now, a few words about the architecture. CKEditor 5 is very, very modular. Almost everything is a plugin, even typing or enter event. It means that you can extend the basic functionalities with official or custom plugins, or add or remove ones if you don't need some functionality. It introduces a custom data model, so the editor is very restrictive when it comes to accepting elements and attributes. Support for HTML elements and attributes is introduced by extending the editor schema and defining the conversion, so the editor would know how to represent the element in the model and how in the editing view or in the data view. It gives you a lot of flexibility. For example, you can create a complex HTML structure that will be represented in the model as a single element, while in the view or the output data, it would be more complex. And as a real life example, I can mention our lists plugin, which have a flat structure in the model. So to list item, to list item model elements will render as a full list with UL or OL parent and li children inside. CKEditor 5 is event driven, so you can easily react on specific events happening during the editing and manage them or assign new behaviors. It has rich API, so we give you a lot of tools and ready-to-use components for the plugins development. And there is also a custom UI library, which could be used for creating UI elements. It is very powerful, and it could be used for creating elements that would be rendered outside of the editor, which is pretty cool. And integration. There are a few ways for integrating CKEditor 5, but the easiest one is to use one of our predefined builds. Each build provides a single type of editor with a predefined set of features. And these builds configurations should satisfy the most common editing use cases. There are 6 builds available: classic, inline, balloon, balloon block, document, and super build. And each build uses a different editor type. For example, the document editor uses the coupled editor type, which allows creating the editor that looks like Microsoft Word. And of course, if needed, you can create a custom build with more customized feature set. And predefined builds are great and easy to integrate, but if you need a flexibility or solution tailored to your needs, you have to create a custom solution. And this is where CKEditor 5 framework comes in. CKEditor 5 is not a simple rich text editor, but it is a framework that allows you to create custom text editing solutions. You can use it to create a custom editor type, write a plugin, change the current features behavior, etc. And thanks to its architecture, it's really easy to extend, and our guides in the documentation would help you to start. And as I promised, a few words about our premium features. This is something we are really proud of, because these features really can take the editing experience to the next level. We offer real-time collaboration, which allows editing the document by multiple people at the same time. And you can know this solution from Google Docs or Notion. Track changes for inserting, accepting, rejecting suggestions, comments for commenting, revision history for viewing snapshot of the previous document versions. We have pagination that shows where the page break will appear when you try to print the document or view it in Word or any PDF viewers. Export plugins that allows you to export your content to PDF or Word and preserve its appearance. Also, recently we introduced import from Word, which allows to load existing docx documents and displaying them in the editor. All right, I hope you have a better understanding of what CKEditor is. Now, let me say a few words about benefits of using a custom editor in your project. CKEditor 5 gives you an intuitive UI and UX. For example, thanks to our widget system, you can manage complex structures in an easy way. For example, tables. In the screen, you can see a table with a yellow border and a small square. These are parts of the widget UI, and the square called table handler allows you to select the table or move it in an easy way, for example, using drag and drop. We have also introduced a balloon system which display forms or toolbars attached to the specific targets, for example, to the text or widgets or toolbar. And of course, there are keystrokes and auto formatting, so all your habits should be safe during the editing process. And as I said before, there are a lot of features that could boost your content creation process. For example, auto formatting supports Markdown syntax. So you can try to type 2 hashes in an empty block, and it will convert to the heading. Obviously, we have also very basic plugins like lists, tables, media, images, font options, alignment, and each feature has its own unique configuration and options. So, for example, you can decide if your links should have a specific target attribute or not, whether the table should have a toolbar or which items should be inside this toolbar. There are also features for more specific use cases, for example, restricted editing, and it simply disables the editing options in the editor and allows writing only inside predefined editable regions. And you can read more about our features on CKEditor.com, so feel free to explore it. And it's possible to control the output coming from the editor. And it is possible thanks to the data processor implementation. CKEditor 5 introduces 3 data processors: HTML, Markdown, and XML. And by default, HTML data processor is enabled. However, you can write a custom data processor and return almost any output you want, for example, JSON. And creating features is pretty straightforward. Of course, you have to learn more about the editor architecture and concepts that stands behind the editor. But once you learn it, you can start writing your custom plugins. And on the right side, you can see a small code snippet that introduces a Hello World type plugin. You simply import the plugin class, then define your custom plugin class that inherits from plugin. Then the init method is defined, and it will simply execute the provided code when the plugin is initialized. And it is worth saying that you can use CKEditor 5 in the headless mode. So you can connect it with your external UI. And you can see the example of using UI created in React in our headless demo on CKEditor.com. And now a few words about use cases. The most basic use case for CKEditor 5 is writing an article. And you can use CKEditor 5 to write content for your blog or corporate website, and it will reflect on the page and look the same as in the editor. But the more complex use case is the reviewing process. And a lot of our customers, before using CKEditor 5, struggled with problems related to using external tools. They used Microsoft Word or Google Docs to work on the content, review it, leaving comments, suggestions, etc., to finally move the finished version to their CMS. And thanks to CKEditor 5, it's possible to simplify this process and use the editor and its features for reviewing. And all this would be available in your application. And another case is editing Word documents. Sometimes you might receive the content for a website in a docx format. And thanks to paste from Office or import from Word, you can edit it directly in CKEditor 5 and publish it on your page. Additionally, import from Word will migrate all comments and suggestions from Word to CKEditor 5, so it's pretty cool. Of course, it works the opposite way. As I mentioned, our export plugins, and you can create the content in CKEditor 5, then export it to docx using export to Word plugin. And of course, all comments and suggestions will be included in the exported document. So yeah, it's a really cool feature. All right, let's talk about a custom field that we developed. And as you might guess, it introduces CKEditor 5 Strapi using the concept of custom fields. And why we decided to use a custom field? Because it is a flexible solution. And as you learned, we like flexibility. And we had the chance to be an early adopter for custom fields. So it was really great to participate in this project for the very beginning. And thanks to the custom field, we don't need to replace the original editor. So if someone would like to use it, hey, no problem, you can use it and use it when you want and where you want. Also, custom fields feel easy to develop, define options, and passing them to the editor components. Yeah, so what's inside? CKEditor 5, of course. This is a view from the content manager. As you can see, it has a new editor, which of course is CKEditor 5 with the rich preset. We have added some styling to match the Strapi theme, and there is also a dark theme for people who enjoy working with more dark colors. And speaking of presets, there are 3 presets. Each of them has a predefined set of features. So it might kind of remind you predefined builds I was talking about at the beginning. So if you need a very basic feature set, you can go with the light version. If you need something more, you can go with the standard version, or finally, you can choose rich version and enjoy a large set of features. And of course, these are not all CKEditor 5 features, but exclusively selected ones. And we know that some of you are used to Markdown. So you can decide whether you want to get your output in HTML or Markdown. And the configuration is very easy. Just reveal the dropdown, choose the option you want, and boom, that's it. The content returned by Strapi REST API will be in HTML or Markdown, depending on your choice. And there is also a feature that allows you to restrict the characters limit. As you can see, after writing more characters than allowed, the content would be marked as red. And this is a plugin that we exclusively developed for the Strapi integration. And we have an integration with Strapi Media Library. It means that you will have access to all the stuff that you have uploaded before. And yep, this is another plugin that we developed exclusively for Strapi. All right, so it's demo time. I need to quickly switch my sharing.
I'm excited. Before we get into
Yeah,
demo, we have a couple questions in the chat. Maybe we could get to some of those.
all right.
Maybe we can do 2 and then do the rest later. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So
The first one's from Kuo. I hope I said your name right. They're asking, I would like to know the status of block-based editing in CKEditor 5. Most modern editors now support it, like Slate.js, Editor.js, Lexical, TipTap, etc.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, we are still exploring this idea, and basically, this is on our track. So I can't tell exactly uh, about the solution, but yeah, it's totally on our mind.
Okay, great. Thanks for tackling that. And then one more before we get into your demo. They were also curious what format is used for data storage, because you mentioned you can either edit XML, HTML, and Markdown.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you can choose if it's HTML, Markdown, or XML, and our data processor will handle it on input and on output. So I can see the QOO. Sorry, I can't spell that, but it's expecting the JSON. We don't plan to introduce JSON data processor, but it should be relatively easy to introduce this one on your own. And actually, I think we have an example on GitHub showing the code which could help you in starting this. So yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for answering. Pavel will get to your question a little later. I'll let Casper go on with the demo, and I'll drop a link to the custom field that he mentioned.
Oh yeah. So just a minute. Yeah. Can you see my Strapi dartboard?
Yes.
All right. So I'm here with the content type builder. I've created the basic collection for blog posts, and it has two fields. The very basic field called name and post, which is a custom field. And how to add a custom field Strapi, we can click add another field, then choose custom, and boom, here we have CKEditor field. After choosing, we have the configuration option. I will close it and use the existing one, which I created before. So as you can see, here is the name and the drop downs I was showing you on my slides. So we can check light version or standard version or rich version, or decide whether your output should be in HTML or Markdown. Actually, we have two additional advanced settings, required field and maximum length field. This is for the characters limit of plugin I was talking about. But for now, let's just keep it default settings. So now I'm moving to the content manager. So when I open my editor, here is a simulation of the content created for a blog about music albums. And this is a small note about the album In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. And as you can see, here we can find the editor with the rich preset. Here you can see styles for block quotes, headings. If I scroll my editor down, you can see that the toolbar is following the scroll. And when I change the selection, the dropdown that shows you the heading options is changing depending on the place where the selection is placed. So if I place the selection in paragraph, you can see that it reacts here, and I can change, for example, this paragraph to heading 4 and undo it. We have a balloon system, as I said before. So when I click on the link, we can see this balloon attached to the text. I can edit it and make it changed or discard this change. I can unlink it, and everything can be done by just clicking on the UI. What else? We have some cool features like find and replace. So for example, if you would like to find some text, you can type Crimson King, click find, and yeah, all these occurrences will be highlighted. So we can, for example, change it to King Crimson and replace all. And as you can see, everything will be replaced. So let's undo this. There are also some lists. We have to-do lists. To-do 1, to-do 2. We can click, we can uncheck. We can convert the existing list into a numbered list or indent using tab, change the editor here. Yeah, so a lot of stuff. We have a special characters, which could be configured. We have block quotes and code blocks and tables. You can insert a table using this great grid. So if you want a table with 2 rows and 2 headings, 2 columns, you can simply click on that and the table will appear. And this is this yellow border and table handler I was showing you on my slides. So we can just, for example, drag and drop it. And it's really cool and handy. Yep. So let me show you our integration with media library. So this is a very basic plugin. And if I click on this media library button, the well-known media library will open, and I can insert any image to the editor and undo it. Also, we have, for example, resize for images. You can just click on the square and decide what size your image should be. You can click on the caption, so you can hide it or show it. And yeah, basically it's an overview, and I have small presentation about the way this content could look like in the real life application. So I prepared a really simple app that simply just gets the data from Strapi and renders it on the page. So here is a simulated blog post. And after refreshing the page, we can see that the time is updated. And we have this content that we created in Strapi displayed here in the editor. So everything looks almost the same. We can change it, for example, by hiding the caption or resizing the image and adding, for example, some bold or some highlight. Yeah, and click save. And after refreshing the page, the changes are reflected here. And how it's reflected in the API. As you can see, it's not pretty output, but we have this post field that we created, and it simply keeps the HTML created by editor here, so we can fetch it and place in our page. And one more thing I'd like to show is the characters limit. So if I change, for example, this custom field, they have the maximum length for 200. Click finish, save. And wait a second. Let's go back to the content manager. And as we can see, the content is marked as red as the characters limit is exceeded. So yeah, basically that's it for the demo. Let me just go back to my slides, or at least if we have some additional questions.
Yeah, I think we might have some questions. If you have any questions, now is a great time. I'm just speechless.
Yeah.
That was such a cool demo. Maybe we can tackle Pavel's question. Let me just open the tab. And I think I'm also asking myself this now. So what happens, Pavel asks, what will happen with my content if I roll on CKEditor or in Strapi, not on an empty database? Any clues on how to deal with this case?
That's an interesting question. And my answer is I'm not sure. So I think this is definitely something that we need to check. And yeah, in case of any problems, just discuss it on GitHub.
Yeah, because if you replace the rich text editor, for example, with this field, I'm guessing there'll be some changes or some, I guess, formatting things that you have to take care of, right?
Sorry, could you repeat?
If you just install the custom field over the rich text editor, I'm guessing there's some formatting issues that you would have to take care of. Like, would it be able to read that from the database and display it in that editor, or
Yeah.
is something that we have to test out?
Yeah, actually, I think we should test it out because I'm not sure if we tested it on our side. So yeah, definitely we should check it.
Definitely. Okay, a challenge for everyone there.
Yeah.
Do not test it on your production apps though. And one more question. We have a request from Daniel, and they are asking if you can demo the responsiveness of the floating image. I'm also curious to know what magic was going on there with the data and the little app that you put up.
Yeah.
Possible?
Let me just get back to my
Sure.
application. Right, and the content manager. Yeah.
I hope we don't steer you too far from your original plans.
Let's try. So when I open the yeah. So we are using here with percentages. So when I really resize the image, we don't use pixels, and having this width property with percentages allows us to keep the image really great and responsive. So if I'll maybe just remove this ugly red color from here. Yeah. And get back here. And yeah, got it. So as you can see, we are using percentages here. So it really helps in getting the stuff responsive. So it works out of the box in the editor. And you can, of course, configure stuff for using pixels, but this will definitely give you the best results, as we also wrap the block images in a figure tag, and then we set this width attribute, this width inline style on the figure. So yeah, that's the magic.
Thank you very much for showing us that. Right, we'll continue with the presentation as planned, and we'll save 5 minutes at the end for some questions. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask, now is a good time to put them in the questions tab. and upvote the questions that you want answered, just in case we don't have time to answer all of them and we need to prioritize. And so at this point, I will let Casper continue, and we'll get back to questions very soon. So start typing.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Okay. Now, as you know, how our custom field looks like, I would like to share some thoughts about the development experience with custom fields. Um, we think that the documentation did a good job and allowed us to bootstrap the custom field very quickly. Basically, it has all the required information needed for introducing a custom field. It is well structured and describes all the necessary steps required to use a custom field. And code examples are great. We found them very useful, as code always helps to visualize the described concepts. And the API is easy. Actually, we are able to create a base of this custom field definition with around 150 lines of code, while the most of them are options definitions, which are big objects. And on the right side of the slide, you can see our custom field definition. And I think it's pretty straightforward. And what's interesting is that CKEditor 5 introduces custom components for React, Angular, and Vue. So we simply use our component in this custom field. And personally, I really like the way one can define a new option. When I was working on adding support for Markdown output, I was able to add the new option for the field almost immediately without the previous knowledge about the project. And once again, code examples are great. The color picker component shows the direction very well. And both the code in the documentation and the one on GitHub is useful, and I think everyone could learn from it. All right, so now I would like to talk a bit about our future plans. Our custom field is at an early stage, so it still might miss some functionalities. And we have a plan what we would like to introduce, but at the same time, we would love to hear the community and what they want and what would find useful. And the biggest thing that we want to introduce is enabling customizations. Currently, there are only 3 predefined presets with a limited set of features, and it doesn't allow to change the configuration or add a plugin or remove it in a convenient way, because it's possible, but not in a convenient way. So yeah, definitely we would like to change it. And the next thing is inserting videos from the media library, as currently we support only images. And similar thing is defining the upload adapter. So images pasted to the editor will be uploaded. And next, we have some improvements in the dark theme and in the characters limit feature. And finally, we consider introducing our premium features integration. However, it depends on the demand. So please let us know if you would like to see these features in our Strapi integration. And of course, I invite you all to join the community on GitHub. All pull requests and tickets are welcomed, so feel free to visit us. Currently, there are not many tickets, but I hope it will change. Don't hesitate to create a new ticket with a feature request, bug report, question, or anything. We are monitoring the repository and would be happy to respond. And we would love to hear your feedback. As the open source project, we know how important it is to listen to the community. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, please share them with us. You can simply leave a ticket on GitHub or just reach out to me after the presentation. And I prepared for you a small cheat sheet with ideas, what you can do after our presentation. So install the CKEditor 5 plugin for Strapi, explore it, come back to leave a feedback and contribute. And by the way, if you wonder how I achieved to-do lists and visual bolts in the GitHub editor. This is our GitHub Writer extension developed by our team that replaces the original editor with CKEditor 5, and it really boosts the experience while writing posts on GitHub. So it's available in Chrome Store or Firefox Store, so go for it. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. And now I guess it's time for the rest of questions and answers.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Caspar, for sharing your experience building the custom field. And thanks for being an early adopter. A lot of the feedback that you gave has really shaped.
Yeah, actually, it was a great experience working with you guys.
Yeah, that's good to know. So if anyone's looking to build a custom field, Caspar is probably the person to talk to if you have any issues. He's literally built the whole. Him and the team have built the custom field. And thanks for the presentation. I'm pretty shocked by the number of features available in CKEditor and the value that adds for content editors. We had one.
Thanks.
Yeah, anytime. We had one question, and again, I'll mention if you have any other questions, do drop them. So Daniel asks, uh, can you speak at all to the WCAG accessibility compliance, particularly for Markdown output? So is there anything there that you do as an editor to be I guess more accessible or pass accessible data through Markdown?
Yeah, so basically, as a CKEditor 5 team, we really want to make the editor accessible, and we did a lot of stuff to bring the reasonable amount of level of accessibility to our editor. So the editor is accessible. We have very great support for keyboards or for screen readers and all this stuff. But I wonder about this Markdown because actually Markdown is not semantic at all. So we focus on producing valid and semantic HTML. So this is totally compliant with accessibility rules and HTML specification. But when it comes to Markdown, yeah, it's Markdown. So we use custom Markdown generator for that translates HTML to Markdown. So yeah, it's still producing Markdown. So I guess there is not much I can tell about it. At least you meant something else, Daniel. So please let me know if you had something on your mind.
Yeah. No, I think you pretty much covered it. If there's any other sort of context that you'd like to add, Daniel, do drop it in the chat. And oh yeah, it answers the question, and they say thank you. We have one.
Perfect.
Question. I think we might have time to tackle one more question. So if you have a question, do put it, and we'll tackle that after Pavel's. And so Pavel says, just to confirm, can I output XML using CKEditor as a base editor in Strapi? There were HTML and Markdown options for custom field, but what about if I swap the default editor with CKEditor?
So basically, as I showed you, CKEditor 5 as the product supports free data processors, HTML, Markdown, and XML. But in Strapi, we introduced only two data processors, HTML and Markdown. Actually, XML was not quite popular, and I'm not sure. I don't know any other customer or people in community that use XML data processor actually. So we decided to not implement it right now. But of course, if there would be a demand, we can consider implementing XML data processor, so you can output XML and feed the editor with this markup. So yeah.
Nice. seeing a lot of thumbs up, so I guess that answers the question. And thanks again. Is there anything you'd like to share? Closing notes, links.
Actually, I'd like to thank you, Daniel, for organizing this. And thank you all guys who participated in this webinar. It was great to be here. And I encourage you all to visit our CKEditor.com website to learn CKEditor better, and just come to our Strapi plugin CKEditor repository, where you can leave your feedback, which will be very, very valuable for our team.
Yeah. Thank you also for coming on, and thank you everyone for attending. I hope you've got some more insight into how you can sort of create better content experiences and for your team and your users in general. And I will also just share, I've shared the link to the CKEditor website, and here's a link to the market. Let me just get that. The CKEditor custom field. And there's a plugin as well if you want to absolutely replace the rich text editor. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks for the questions. We have one more question, my bad, from Marco, and then we're done. So Marco wants to know, is it possible to add a new plugin to the CK editor for Strapi, or is it necessary to make a custom build? Great question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, currently, it's not possible to add it in easy way. Of course, it would be possible by modifying the source of the plugin, but basically it will require integration in the code. So we need to think about how we can approach customizing CKEditor in Strapi. And actually, as you remember from my slides, this is our main priority for plugin development. So for now, I guess the only way would be simply creating a custom build or modifying the source of our existing plugin, and yeah, and it will work like that. And I promise we'll figure out a better solution.
Yeah, I guess that's the goal, making it as easy as possible for people to make the customizations that they need. So do add your feedback and do add like your requests, like Casper said, to the plugin GitHub repo, custom field GitHub repo. And I'm excited to see what everyone does with this editor. If you build anything cool, do share it in our Discord. And I think that's it from us. Thank you again for coming on and being very patient. And thank you so much for the presentation again, Caspar. Hopefully we can have
Thank you
you
very much.
soon. Okay, then this is it from us for today. If you check out strapi.io/events, we have a lot more events planned out for the month of February. And we'll have some exciting ones to announce in March also. So hopefully I can see some familiar names or display pictures in the upcoming events. See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.